Fujifilm's X Summit is just a few weeks away. I thought we'd look at what's rumored, what's reported, what's confirmed, what we're hoping and wishing for, as well as give you a disclaimer to watch out because there's going to be a lot of clickbait coming up about Fujifilm's X Summit on May 31st. Just because Fujifilm videos get a lot of clicks, you have to watch out for channels like Tony and Chelsea Northrup, who a lot of people view as reputable. But remember, last year they actually lied about Fujifilm's X Summit. That time, they actually didn't watch it. So watch who you're listening to, because a lot of people are full of shit. So we're going to talk about first what we know, what's kind of been confirmed by Fujifilm, also from leaked images and leaked information that really is starting to round out this whole thing. First off, Fujifilm will be releasing two cameras, the Fujifilm X-H2 and the X-H2s, a la Leica and their SL2 and SL2s. And just like that, one will have a 40 megapixel sensor and one will have a 26 megapixel sensor. Whether or not they're both stacked backside illuminated sensors is still to be seen, but as of right now, we're for sure the X-H2 will have a 40 megapixel stacked backside illuminated sensor. Now, why is the stacked a big deal? It's because simply when you want good autofocus, when you want to be able to write to faster cards, when you want to be able to record higher resolution video, when you want to be able to shoot photos for sports and things like that with an electronic shutter and not have any rolling shutter, not have any warp, that's where it comes in handy. What makes the A1 go, what makes the Canon R3 go, what makes the Nikon Z9 catch up to those and go is the stack sensor. And we're happy to say that Fujifilm will now have one of those in one of its cameras, which means it's giving pro videographers and photographers everything they could want. And the X-H2s, they will actually be having a 26 megapixel camera that can record up to 6K. So between the two cameras, a 40 megapixel and a 26 megapixel. The 40 is for sure going to be stacked, backside illuminated. So again, you're going to have your 8K recording. There's a chance you're going to have 6K or 4K at 120 or 240. There's also the different little codecs you can go, and it makes exporting to an Atomos Ninja 5 even easier, even better, with more detail and depth, especially when recording in RAW. And you're just going to have a lot of things, even from the photography side that I just talked about before, with the ease and use of electronic shutter in replace of the mechanical shutter. This is the direction it's going. Will they only have electronic shutter? We don't know, but as of right now, we know that Fujifilm was making a huge step up in advancement in not only autofocus, but also in just processing power all together in its camera. It will be the fastest camera to date, for sure, on the X-H2. And the X-H2s, as rumored that it's going to be compatible with CF Express cards as well as SD cards, it's making me think it will also have a 26.1 stacked backside illuminated sensor that will record up to 6K output, and that's going to be its limitation due to only being 26 megapixels. But it may be something similar to what not only Leica's doing with the SL2 and the SL2s, but also what Canon did with the R5 and the R6, where one is very much more video centric with high resolution to where you can still take images, but the other can also probably do something like a higher frame burst whenever it comes to sports photography and things like that. We're still waiting to see what this will mean for the X-T5, because that is a line that is most likely going to be hurt from sales whenever it comes to the XH line of bodies. But also, will Fujifilm unfortunately undo all their hard work by releasing the X-T5 and making it better than the X-H2s to where it starts cannibalizing its sales? We're still gonna see. But here's some things that we actually have confirmed from leaked images, and I'll put those up. Leaked images about the X-H2s. We're gonna go through and start looking down the line. Number one is whenever it comes to the actual body, it's looking more like a GFX body more than anything. And whenever I explain these things that we're seeing in these photos, you'll understand more. We have a joystick kind of XT4 and GFX 100S orientation, so higher up, and we still have the D-pad. We have a fully articulating screen. There's no in-camera cooling system on the leaked images of the X-H2s. Doesn't mean there's not gonna be one on the X-H2, but we're still waiting. The left side seems to give a lot more I/O, a lot more ports. I once said that I believe they would have to put either a full size or a mini XLR or two audio inputs, or they would have to put a full size HDMI or maybe even Ethernet cable. And that may still be the case, as well as with the fact that they're releasing two different battery grips that will fit on both the X-H2 and the X-H2s. My case and my thinking there is it's gonna be, again, more ports to be able to put on. One may be just for batteries, the other one may be batteries with different I/O ports. Also on the X-H2s, these leaked images, there's no drive dial underneath the big dial, and there's no dedicated dial on top of the right side, which means it's probably going to be a PSAM layout just like the GFX cameras. Now, a lot of people may not like this because they love being able to see the dials on top, but on the GFX cameras you get a digital set of dials to where you can see what your settings are, but also you still have that quick view screen. I think that's great. A lot of times for professional people or just for people like me, I really already have everything set when I need to when it comes to sports, and everything's controlled on a front and back dial. So having the hard dials on top isn't necessarily always something that I need to have, but having a PSAM dial is something that people are really liking. Fujifilm's been testing not only with their GFX system, but also with the XS10 model. We don't know if there will be an XS20, maybe the X-H2s bites into that, but there's also a dedicated record button near the shutter button, so we know it's going to be video centric, both of them. These are both very exciting because Fujifilm's taken a step forward in saying, hey, what is perceived to be professional, we want to go ahead and make something more for that. Now again, as I talked about with the battery grips, there are going to be two put out by Fujifilm. They can be swapped between the X-H2s and the X-H2. Again, my thinking is that this will be something that has maybe a full-size HDMI, maybe an XLR, something, an Ethernet cable port, something that will be able to jump you into a network, jump you into audio, jump you into video directly out. It will have to be something that's a benefit. If they're selling two different ones, I don't want to say that one's going to be silver and one's going to be black. I 100% believe that this is going to be a case of there's going to be more ports to be able to add on, because Fujifilm is going very, very hard right now into the video-centric community, and I think this is what's going to take for them to really get some bite and really get some traction. Now, with that being said, just like I mentioned before, with the case of a stacked backside illuminated sensor and a brand new faster processor, CF cards are going to be available in both, and I think that is fantastic. That's something that a lot of people who are going to be recording faster, taking faster photos, need a better buffer. It's going to be a help to you. And again, we may be looking at it like, well, I don't need that, I just need my SD cards. Not everyone is you. And some people may want to change their whole videography workflow with the use of Eterna, with the use of 10-bit internal, etc. to Fujifilm for the Fujifilm colors, or potentially even for the Fujifilm glass. Now, the other thing I want to bring up when it comes to these sensors, comes to new cameras, is the fact that there has been a patent that has been found for a stacked backside illuminated sensor put inside of a rangefinder style body. And because it was an interchangeable lens system, this leads me to believe that maybe not on May 31st, but sometimes within the next year, we're going to be getting the long awaited X Pro 4. So for those of you who are hoping, praying, wishing the X Pro 4 will come, Fujifilm's already got a patent with something like that inside of it. It's a huge deal for a lot of us. Again, it's going to take photography to another level. The amount of depth, detail, high ISO usage, the amount of speed, the processing is going to be fantastic. It'll be great for street photographers as well as people doing studio and portrait. And someone like me who prefers to shoot sports on an X Pro body, it'll leave me better because I know it's going to be even more capable. The opportunity as well for there to be video and actually push the envelope there, which a lot of people complained about and wanted, of course is going to be an option now that it has a stacked backside illuminated sensor. Fujifilm is really going hard in their Pro lines, whether they're flagship in the X-H or potentially even in their X Pro line that has the professional in it itself. When it comes to other rumors, things that are confirmed, things that Fujifilm said themselves that they would be doing, we are going to get for sure the 150 to 600 f5.6 to f8 from Fujifilm. That's going to be a monster of a lens, very, very large. It's going to be white, just like the XF200 lens. It's going to be a great lens. It's going to be something that for wildlife and bird photographers, someone who wants a smaller kit, but to still have the same reach, the clarity, the resolution, the image detail and quality, you're going to be able to get that with this new lens. This is going to be something that, if my math is correct, and it's probably not, is actually going to give you a 225-ish, so about a 200-ish to almost, if I believe I'm correct, a 900-ish range on the Fujifilm X mount system. Again, another huge deal. That is the 150 to 600 f5.6 to 8. This is going to be something that is not only going to rival a few of the long telephoto lenses from Canon, but also when you pair it again with a camera that's going to be $2,500 or less, and then you get this, you're probably going to be able to get both of these for the price of an R1 or an R3 alone. Fujifilm is also going to be releasing their 18 to 120 f4 lens. Now this is rumored, but this is something that's also been found in patents as well as in their roadmap, something they're looking to get to, and it's been pointing that right now at this Fujifilm X Summit, it's going to be released. It's going to be a constant aperture at f4. It's probably going to be sharp. One thing to look out for and realize with all these new Fujifilm lenses, you may be thinking there's already a 16 to 80, a 16 to 55, but you also have to understand all these new lenses are going to be able to resolve the full resolution of the 40 megapixels of the X-H2s and every other high megapixel APS-C camera Fujifilm has. There is a reason for them doing this. This one gets you a little bit extra reach. It looks like it's a little bit heavier, but with the compression you're going to get at the 120 millimeters, which is technically a 18 to 120 is really a 28 to 180, I believe. At f4, it's going to be a great all-around lens for not only portraits but also landscapes and also any kind of city work, any kind of work in general. A great all-around lens. For some people, it may replace a 16 to 55. The 16 to 80 in their bag, but who knows, as more and more third-party lens makers come into the fold, Fujifilm's gonna really have to step up their lens game. And what's exciting about this is as we get Sigma, as we get Tokina, as we get Tamron, as we get all these other lens manufacturers bringing these lenses into the system, it's only going to create more and more of pressure on Fujifilm for them to get it right the first time when they're launching these lenses. One of the last things I want to talk about is one of the rumored lenses from Fujifilm, and that is the 56 1.2 Mark II. Now this lens has been rumored. It's been brought up over and over and over again by people, both saying they have connections. Actually the same Fuji rumors who was able to secure the XS2 and X-H2 information, the 40 megapixel sensor information, even the leaked images information are the ones saying that there's rumors that a 56 1.2 Mark II will be announced. We're looking at the fact that we're gonna have an opportunity to have multiple lenses from 18, 23, 33, 56, 50, 70 to 300, 150 to 600, 18 to 400, and I'm sure I've missed others that are going to be able to resolve the full resolution of a 40 megapixel camera. Now, do you need that resolution? Who knows? And do you need those lenses? Who knows? Truth be told, everything that's beside the 18, the original 35, and the original 56 millimeter from Fujifilm is able to resolve up to over 30, around 35 megapixels. And so if you're staying at these lower megapixel cameras, whether 26.1, 24, 18, you're probably gonna be just fine because your lenses are resolving the full output of your sensor. But with that being said, the different formula they have in these new Fujifilm lenses, the way the micro contrast is so beautiful, the way things pop, I'm really looking forward to the 56 1.2 and what it's gonna do and if it's going to eat in the 50mm 1.0 marketplace and exactly what's going to happen when Fujifilm chooses to eventually refresh all of their lenses. Questions are to be had. First off, is the X Pro 4 just going to be a refresh of a new battery and a new sensor? Are we going to get the rear-facing hidden screen again? Are we going to finally get Fujifilm branded manual focus lenses instead of them just having a partnership with Voigtlander? Are we going to get a better manual focusing system, potentially even a digital rangefinder patch? What exactly is going on when it comes to the Fujifilm X mount system and the X Pro 4? How are they going to put more into that system? Will we have IBIS? What exactly is coming up? There's also the questions of what's going to happen with the new X100 camera. What will it be named? You can't go X100S because there's already been an X100S for second. You also have to ask yourself, will it be fully weather sealed? Will it have 40 megapixels? Will it have IBIS? What are the limitations of that camera? What are the limitations of the leaf shutter in that camera, and what are the limitations of the size of the body? Do you put in a new battery? How much bigger does it make it? Then there's the XT5 and the XT whatever line. This is going to be the biggest question coming up. Are you going to release in a year an XT5, an XT40, whatever, what have you, and have it because it has IBIS and weather sealing and have a larger size sensor? Are you gonna let it eat into your X-H2 and your X-H2s line? Are you not gonna put in a stacked backside illuminated sensor so that maybe it can't output the exact same thing? Maybe it doesn't have the same speed for shooting photos and video. What exactly are you going to do to segment these? Are you going to price it near identical to the X-H2? And what are you going to do when people start asking about renewing the XT lineup? Will there be an X80? Will there be two different X100 cameras, maybe with an X100 with a 50mm and maybe an X100 with a 28mm and a 35mm? Maybe there's three. Who knows? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. But the thing that's happening with Fujifilm is there's a lot of exciting patents and things going forward. We know they're not giving up on the system. Let me know if you're excited for May 31st and if you are one of the people that are planning to upgrade to a higher resolution camera. I may not be myself because I don't need it at this time, but I can tell the way Fujifilm is going, it'll only be a matter of time before every single thing they're putting out is stacked, high megapixel, and very, very robust cameras. This is just the way things are going. So with all that being said, take it light, but take it. Have a good one.